In today's video tutorial, we are going to be using Adobe Illustrator to create ourselves this rustic kind of beer company logo. Before we get started on making it today, we do need to download a few bits and pieces from the internet. So jump over to your web browser. And the first thing you're going to need to download is this collection of beer glasses and mugs. It's a freebie from the website freepik.com. I will post the link in the description of the video. Simply hit the download button and grab yourself this file. The other files we're going to need today are the lemon milk font from dafont.com. Simply Google it and then click the download button and install a few variations of that font. The other font we're going to need to use is Merriweather. It's another freebie from Font Squirrel. Simply click the purple button to download that. And the last thing that we're going to need to download today is from a company called the Heritage Typeco. We're going to get this vintage font bundle. Now it does have a price tag attached to it, but let me explain why I think you should spend that money to get this pack. So inside it you get these 5 different bundles which have these awesome fonts that they've created along with these ornaments that go with it. So you can see these cool borders around the outside, all these little curls and swirls and flowers and whatnot. Okay, so it's a fantastic pack to download, well worth that $49 price tag while it's on special. Okay, if you don't want to spend that money, you don't have to. You can go onto Google and just do a bit of a Google search for some curls and swirls in vector format, because what we are looking for, whoops, wrong file, are these little curls and swirls here around the top of the beer mug. Okay, I'm sure you can find some freebies out there if you search hard enough, but I would recommend getting this pack if you are into your graphic design, because you will get some fantastic use out of it. Okay, so let's get started by heading over to Adobe Illustrator. And you might have seen this file just before. This is from the vintage font bundle that I downloaded. This is the Ornaments file. So you can see it's got all these different curls and swirls I was talking about before, as well as these cool icons that can be used in your design. We're going to pull some of these curls out a bit later on. The other file I want you to open now is the beer mugs and glasses vector pack. We're going to be using one of those in our design as well. Once you've got those 2 files open, head up to the File menu and make yourself a new file. So we do want to start on a blank document for our logo. Simply click the print templates up here, and we're going to pick our own sizes today. We're going to go into pixels and change our width and height to 800 by 800 pixels. Everything else should be good to go. We're in CMYK color mode. 300 pixels per inch is high quality format. So let's click create, and we should get an empty white square on the screen. First thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our rectangle tool from our toolbox, that 5th tool down there. We're going to turn our stroke off. Stroke is the border of the shape that we're drawing, so turn that off and just change your fill color to the darkest grey you can see here. It's just next to the black. What we're going to do with this is we're just going to draw a square over the page. It starts in the top left corner and goes to the bottom right corner, and that's going to be our background. So once that's in position, go to your layers panel up here. Just expand it by hitting that little arrow, and next to the eyeball here, you've got a little empty square. If you click in that, it will lock it into position, and you'll see a little padlock appear. That just means our background's now stuck in place and we can't move it around or accidentally mess it up. Alright, so what we're going to do now is start drawing the logo. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the white hexagon that runs through the background here. It's just this skinny white line. To do that, we need to go and grab our polygon tool from our shapes tool over here. It's the 5th option down, where we found the rectangle before. If you hold your mouse down on it, the polygon option will be underneath it. Now before we start drawing, we go to our properties here, and I want you to choose a fill color that is nice and bright. It doesn't matter what color really, because we're going to get rid of it anyway later on, but just choose a nice bright color and then click somewhere on your page. All you need to do here is just set the sides to 6. Don't worry about the radius for now. Click OK and you'll get your hexagon on the page. Using your selection tool, just hold Alt and Shift at the same time to make it nice and big. You want it to fill up a reasonable chunk of your page. And once you get it filling up a good chunk of your page, the next thing you need to do is give it a bit of a rotate. The way we do that, still with the selection tool, we just hover off the top right hand corner, hold Shift, and start turning it. And we're going to turn it around until we have the points at the top and the bottom. Okay, so our sides are now flat and we have those pointy ends at the top and bottom. That's the general shape we want for our background. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to split this hexagon in half. So the way we do that is we need to draw a line through the middle. So go and grab your line segment tool from your toolbox there. And you need to change the fill color to nothing and the stroke to, well, let's just say black, so it's easy to see. 1 point is fine for the stroke. Now you need to get it straight through the middle of your hexagon, and to do that your pink guides will help you out. So when you're hovering your mouse somewhat near the center of the hexagon, a pink line will appear. And all I want to do is draw a line straight through the middle there. Hold shift while you do it to keep the line perfectly straight, and drop it on the other side like so. Doesn't matter what size it is as long as it cuts through the middle of that hexagon. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag over both the hexagon and the line to select them all. And we're going to grab our shape builder tool from our toolbox here. It's the two little circles with the little arrow on top of it. And simply click on the top half and the bottom half. And you get two shapes now. We've just got rid of the fill color. That's why they are hard to see at the moment. So what I'll get you to do is just click off everything and just click and drag over the top section where you think that hexagon is. It is actually there. It's just hidden away because of the colors. Change your fill to say orange or some bright color so you can see it. And I want you to delete the other things on the page now. So down the bottom you've still got a hexagon. You just can't see it. So just click and drag over it. Press delete on your keyboard. Also delete the black lines that you can see. We don't need them anymore. We just need this top half of the hexagon. Now once you've got the top half in place, just click on it. Get rid of the fill color. And we're going to put a white stroke on. So the stroke is the border of the shape. The size I want is 5 points. So that's what it should be looking like at the moment. It's kind of like the roof of a house. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to delete this line that runs along the bottom of our shape. We don't want that there. So this can be a bit fiddly, but I'm going to show you how to do it pretty slowly. I'm going to zoom in on this bottom left hand corner. So get in as close as you can go there so it fills up a good chunk of the page. And I want you to bring your rulers up next. Press Ctrl R on your keyboard to get your rulers up, or just go to your view menu and select rulers and make sure that you show them. You'll see that across the top and the left side of your page the rulers appear. I'm just going to drag out the left hand side ruler and drop it right on this left hand edge here. I want to try and get this perfect, so if you zoom right in here, you can just move that guide around a little bit so it's perfectly where the white meets the grey. Pretty much right there. Okay, and what we're going to do is the same thing again but over the other side. So on the bottom right corner down here, zoom in. I'm just holding Alt and scrolling on my mouse to zoom in quickly here. So get in as close as you can. That's probably about as good as I'm going to get it. Drag another ruler out and just drop it where the grey and the white meet. So that looks pretty good. So zooming back now, we've got two rulers on our page. I'll zoom right back here, there and there. And that's the section we want to cut out. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to zoom back in on this left one here, and I'm going to use my scissors tool. Press the letter C to pick it up quickly, or if you can't do that, it's hiding under the eraser tool. So hold your left mouse button down on the eraser tool and select your scissors. Okay, now what we want to cut is the line straight down here. So before we do that, actually, we do need to select that shape. So let me just zoom back here and select this shape first. Oops. Now that we've got it selected, we can see this blue, dark blue path running through it. That's what we're going to click on. So grab your scissors and just click on that path right there. And it puts a little anchor point in. We're going to do that on the other side too. So zooming in, still got your scissors tool selected. Click where your ruler intersects that dark blue line. And that should now have cut out the bottom section of our shape. So if we can click on that now and press delete, we've now got rid of the bottom section of our, or the top half of our hexagon. These guides, you can highlight them and press delete. We don't need them anymore. You should be left with this kind of shape. Okay, we're just going to deform it a little bit now. So I'm going to click on it and just squish it up. So it's going to look a bit more like that. Now that we've got this in place, I think that looks really good. We're going to click on it and we're going to go to edit and copy, and then edit, paste in place. So that pastes a copy right on top of the other one. So we've got actually two shapes there, one on top of the other. They're exactly the same. What we're going to do while this top one's selected is go to the object menu at the top and transform it. And we're going to reflect it. I think we need to do it horizontally from memory. There we go, that just turns it upside down. So make sure you choose horizontal, click OK, and using Shift and your down arrow, move it down. Okay, so you should have something looking like that at the moment. That's not too bad. I might move everything down a little bit so it's more towards the center of the page. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so that's the outside border of our logo. If you wanted to adjust that at all, you want to squish it up anymore, by all means go for it. Might give it just a little bit more of a squish. I think that's looking pretty good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the schooner of beer. Okay, so over here, you have your choice of 6 mugs to pick. I'm going to go with this one in the bottom right corner. Don't feel like you have to. You can choose whichever one you want. It's just a Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, and that smacks it right in the middle of your logo. Now obviously we need to make it pretty big, so I'm going to click on it, holding Alt and Shift just to keep it in proportion. I'm going to make that big enough so it almost touches that white border we put on just before. So that size there is pretty much what I'm looking for. Now it's probably time to whack in a bit of text. I'm just thinking we haven't got a lot of room here to write our text in, so I'm actually going to select everything and just make it a little bit smaller. Not too much, about there, looks pretty good. So we're going to put in the name of the company first of all. I just came up with a company called Best Beer. So I'm going to grab my type tool here, it's letter T, and I'm going to click on the page and I'm just going to write Best in capital letters to start with. Okay, now the size we want, well, we want it pretty big to start with. 72 is not going to cut it, so we will go bigger in a second. But before we do, I'm just going to change the color. Okay, so I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and I'm going to actually select this light yellowy kind of color here in the beer. I'm going to change my font now to that lemon milk font that I was talking about before. So lemon milk, and I'm going to choose the bolder version of it there. Actually, that's the regular version. Oh, well, let's roll with the regular version. And I'm going to get my size right now. So I might just, I can play around with the size over here in the properties. Okay, so that's 70 at the moment. Just nudge it up a bit. We want it to fill in this gap pretty nicely. Probably around size 100 will look good on mine. Yours might be a little bit different, but I think size 100 looks pretty decent there on mine. And just get it to fit nicely in the gap here between the two gaps in the hexagon. Okay, that looks good. So now that that's fine, I'm going to go to edit and copy that. I'm going to go back to paste in place, and using Shift and my right arrow, I'm going to nudge it across to the other side. Okay, and this time we're not writing Best, we're writing Beer. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. One last thing I want to do before we start warping this text is I just want to put a bit of space between each of the letters. They're a little bit condensed for my liking, so I'm just going to select both these text boxes and I'm going to adjust the tracking over here. I think it's called the tracking, yeah, that's the one. So it's got the letters VA and the horizontal arrows there next to it. Just change the setting there to 50. And as I just go over these numbers, you can see what I mean by tracking. It just puts a bit of space between each letter. So 50 is what I'm looking for there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good now. So the next effect I want to apply is this warp effect, where on the word Best, the letters start nice and big out here on the left hand side and they just get a little bit smaller as they work their way towards the glass of beer. Same with the word beer, it's just in reverse. So it starts smaller and the letters will get bigger as you move out across to the page, across to the right of the page there. So let's start with the word Best. What we need to do is we need to click on it with our selection tool, right click and choose Create Outlines. Then we need to grab our free transform tool. Now some of you might be able to see the free transform tool in your toolbox. I don't have it visible at the moment though because I've got a fairly condensed menu. But if you hit these little dots down the bottom here to edit the toolbar, you just scroll through this gigantic list of features that Illustrator has, and towards the bottom you can see the free transform tool. Okay, and you can see the shortcut key to get access to it is the letter E. So let's just use that. So I've got my text selected, I press the letter E, and these transform options come up. I just want to choose this one here that says Perspective Distort. And what I'm going to do is just click on this top right hand side here and just bring it in ever so slightly. You don't want to do it too much. Okay, just something little like that. We're going to do the same again on the other side. Right click on it first with your selection tool and choose Create Outlines. Then press the letter E, grab your Perspective Distort and just ever so slightly move that top left corner down. Okay, so it will look something like that when you're done. So you just see that effect where it starts bigger and gets smaller, starts smaller and gets bigger. Now, the gap between the letters I put in before with that tracking doesn't quite look as good as I was hoping. So it's too late to change it now. So we'll leave it as is. But I think that, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Let's throw in a bit more text now. So grabbing our type tool again, I'm going to change the fill color to white. And my font this time is going to be Merriweather. I think we'll just choose the normal Merriweather font here. It's that size 100 at the moment. Might drop that down. We'll go 50 for now. We'll probably have to make it a bit smaller. I'm going to write the word highest in capital letters. For some reason my text has gone black, so let's just change that back to white. It is way too big, so let's just drop this down to size 30. Doesn't look too bad actually. I might just nudge it around a little bit here, but it's going to go under the word best. Something like that looks pretty good. We're going to copy that. We're going to paste it in place. And then we're going to use our shift and right arrow key to nudge it over the other side there. And we want to write the word quality in it this time. Oops. There we go. So just nudge that around with your arrow keys until it sits nicely under the word beer there. It should be even amount of space on the left hand side and the right hand side of the text before it runs into the next color. So that doesn't look too bad. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the date this company was established. Obviously just made up, but it's going to be our text tool again, and we're going to go back to that yellow color and we're going to choose lemon milk again for our font. So back to lemon milk. First one's going to say 19. I'm just going to have to use my eyedropper tool here to get this yellow. There we go. And it's going to sit underneath the word highest, probably over this way a bit, and that text is too big, size 30. Let's drop it down to size 20. I'll zoom in a bit here so you can see what's going on. So it's roughly going to sit kind of under that T, I guess, if anything, like so. And then we're going to grab this line segment tool and we're simply going to draw a line straight above it. That stroke color, I'm going to use my eyedropper tool. I want that yellow color that I've got here in my text again. Okay, now that's set the fill color to that yellow, so I'm just going to hit this little arrow here to switch it around so the stroke is that yellow color. And now I can turn my stroke up, my properties, to about size 3. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to zoom in even more here. I'm going to copy that, paste it in place, and I'm going to use my shift and down arrow key to just nudge that down below the 19. So you've got something looking like that. Then I'm going to select all 3 shapes, right click and group them, and then I'm going to copy them and paste them in place again. Using shift and my right arrow, I'm just going to nudge that over to the other side. Now this time it's going to pretty much come under the letter Q. We need to ungroup them for a sec, and we're going to change this number here to 80. So what it is saying is 1980. You see the 80 is a little bit out of line there, so you might need to just nudge it over so it's in between those 2 lines again. And if you want, you can highlight them and just group them back together so those 3 shapes are grouped together. Zooming back out, that's starting to come together nicely now. We just need to put some little swirls up the top here and we'll be done. So the swirls, as I said earlier, are in this Ornaments pack here. Okay, the first swirl I'm going to use is this one just here. All I need to do is press Ctrl C to copy, pop back over here, Control V to paste it, and I paste it smack bang in the middle of the page. Just move it up the top here. Now the color we want is white, so just go to your fill color here and adjust the color to white. That's not too bad, might be a little bit big still, so I'll just nudge that down using Shift and the selection tool. And I want to get one more little swirl. It's going to be a skinny one, I think. Probably this one over here will work well. It's facing the wrong way at the moment, so I'm just going to go to Object and Transform and just reflect that vertically. So it's facing the other way. Change my fill to white. And just drag that up, or use your arrow keys to move it. Now we want it to probably sit up here. We'll get it to rotate so it looks a bit nicer. You don't have to hold Shift this time, just free transform that. We want to try and get the same sort of curl as the other shape we've got there. I want to kind of make them look like they're almost joined together. It's not too bad, we're getting pretty close here now. Yeah, it's looking alright, just need to nudge it back a bit. Nearly there. As I said, a little bit fiddly this is. Once you get it, that'll look really good. There we go, that doesn't look too bad at all there now. So zooming back, let's have a look. Yeah, not too bad. I could probably just stretch that out a little bit. Nudge them over. Oops. That's not too bad. Okay, if you wanted to, I'm still not entirely happy with it, but you could just give it a little bit of a rotate maybe. Bring it a bit closer. Up to you. But once you've got it looking good, you can group those two shapes together by selecting them, right-clicking and selecting group. And then it's just a copy and paste in place job again. We'll transform it and reflect it vertically. And just use your Shift key and your right arrow to nudge it over the other side there. So it's in a fairly similar position on the other side of the page. So something like that. So I think that's everything in place now, and we're looking pretty good. So you've got a pretty slick looking craft beer kind of logo. I think it's got a rustic look to it, and I think that would work very well for a modern beer company. To save up, there's a few ways you can save. If you're just saving so you can come back and edit it later, just save it as an AI file, so an Adobe Illustrator file. That's that there. If you want to use it, say, on the web, good thing to do is export it. You can either go export for screens or export as, and choose probably a PNG or a PNG file. That's probably one of your better options for the web. JPEG's not a bad option, but I'd go PNG. If you're using it for print, then you'll probably want to export. Actually, you go save as, I think, and we choose Adobe PDF. So you save as a PDF file if you are planning to print it. So there's three different options there if you do want to save that in a particular format. Okay, that's all I'll show you in this video. I'll catch you in the next one.